Hey guys, Scott from Fry Props here, and today we're going to be taking a look at how to take an animatronic from a big box store like Spirit Halloween or Halloween Express, one like this, and upgrade it to work with one of our controllers or triggers. If you've ever purchased one of these props before, you know that they are a great deal. It's a large animatronic for an affordable price, but often the triggers that are included are not the best. So for this guy, for instance, we have one of these step here activation pads. These are usually pretty fragile, they don't last very long, and he has a motion sensor built into his chest area here. So the idea being when that senses motion or somebody steps on this pad, he does his routine. So what if you wanted to upgrade this step pad to something that's maybe larger, or more discreet, or a little bit more durable? Or what if you wanted to use a different motion sensor than the one that's built into the chest here that you can position somewhere else? Or what if you wanted to use a beam sensor or any other type of trigger? Or what if you wanted to use a controller? Well, today we're going to take a look at how you can do all of that. Alright, so here we've removed the covering of the prop to access the controller inside. This is pretty typical controller box for this style of prop. We have the speaker here. We have a power input here at the bottom, a volume knob for adjusting the volume of the prop, and an on, off, and sensor mode switch here. Lastly, for this prop, we have an input here, which is marked Try Me. The easiest way to do a modification for a prop like this is on a prop that has a Try Me feature. Most of them do. A lot of them, it's an input like this one. Some of them, it's built in with a button that's on the exterior of the prop. But for this one, we're going to look at ones that have an input like this. So you can see we have that step here pad, and there's a wire that comes from that. And that wire goes to this adapter, which is plugged in here. Now that adapter looks a lot like something that you might find on a pair of headphones, except that rather than being stereo, it's mono. What we need to know is essentially that inside of this wire here, there are two different wires. And when you take the step pad and press on it, it basically connects those two wires together. So anything that we can do that has an adapter like this and then two wires that we touch together will activate the prop. So let's say you wanted to replace the existing step pad with a larger, more durable one like this. Well, these pads, when you get them, come with an end that is two wires. And we happen to sell an adapter that will take those two wires, you can see here that has two screw terminals on it, and adapt them to interface with the plug here for the Try Me pad on the controller. So all we have to do is take that adapter, take the two wires from the step pad, and plug them in to the screw terminals on the adapter. It doesn't matter which wire goes where. And then screw them down. And then we can take that and plug it into the Try Me input here. And we're done. Now when somebody comes by and steps on the new step pad, it will activate the routine.
Look at who comes this way. Do you not fear the Reaper?
So that's how you can easily upgrade from a small, fragile step pad like this to a larger, more durable step pad like the one here. We also sell ones that are even larger than this. But what if instead of a step pad you wanted to use another sensor like this motion sensor here, or a beam sensor, or any one of our other triggers? Well, to do that, we're going to use a Peekaboo Junior controller. Now, if you remember before, I said that all we needed to do to trigger this prop was touch two wires together. Well, that's what the relay outputs on a Peekaboo controller like this do. You can see that the relay here has three terminals, NC, C, and NO. Those stand for normally closed, common, and normally open. And what happens when we actually program the controller when it activates one of these relays is it touches the normally open to the common terminal, touching those two terminals together, which will touch any two wires that we have in the screw terminals here at the top together as well. So all we need to do is interface our controller on the prop to a pair of wires that we can put into the Peekaboo. Then we can activate the prop with the Peekaboo and activate the Peekaboo with our motion sensor. So in order to adapt this adapter to have bare wires, I'm just going to use some wire. I have some 22.2 low voltage wire here. So that's 22 gauge wire with two strands inside. So we're just going to take that wire and we're just going to screw it into the terminals on the adapter here. So now we have the adapter, and at the other end, we have a pair of bare wires. We can now take that adapter and plug it into the Try Me terminal there on the controller. Alright, so now we've essentially replaced that step here pad with a pair of bare wires. If we have the prop powered on and we touch these wires together, it's going to trigger the prop. Now what we want to do is use the peekaboo to do that for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these two wires and we're going to wire them into the C and NO terminals for relay output 1 here. Alright, so we have our adapter in the try-me input here with the two wires coming out, and those two wires are going into our peekaboo controller here into relay output 1, C, and NO. We can now plug in our controller and program it. Alright, so we can now program the peekaboo to activate this prop. So as you can see here, we have two relay outputs, 1 and 2. We also have two buttons here on the controller which control those relay outputs. So to put a program in, we're just going to hit record, hit the button to activate the relay that we want, and then hit record again to save that program. Since all we want to happen when this controller is activated is to quickly trigger the prop, all we have to do is hit record, then hit the number 1, and hit record again. Now anytime this controller is activated by the attached trigger, which we'll get to in a second, it'll play that program. One of the other reasons we recommend using a controller like a peekaboo is that you can actually add what's called a post delay to your program so that the prop cannot be triggered right away. That's good if you're using something like a motion sensor and you don't want your prop going off all the time. So to do that, because all the programming is done in real time, you just hit record, hit the button to start your prop, and then wait. You can wait as long as you like, up to 2 minutes total. And once you've waited as long as you would like, just tap record again to save. So now we've created a program that activates the prop, but then has some blank space after the prop's been activated where the peekaboo cannot be triggered again. So that will actually create a delay before the peekaboo is allowed to trigger the prop a second time. So now we can go ahead and attach any trigger we like to the trigger input on the peekaboo here. I'll wire up our motion sensor from earlier and just show you how that works. Alright, so we've now upgraded the motion sensor to a higher quality motion sensor and one that you can mount wherever you like. It doesn't have to be right on the prop, so you can put it, somewhere away from the prop wherever you want the motion to be sensed to activate the prop. So what if your prop doesn't have a try-me input like the one we're looking at here? What if it just has a step pad or a try-me button? Well, you can still control your prop this way, and I'll show you how. As I mentioned earlier, all this pad is really doing is it's touching the two wires that are inside of this wire here together when somebody steps on it. Same thing with a button. So in order to control that with a peekaboo, all we need to do is cut this wire and strip the two internal wires and then put them into the relay on the peekaboo. So to do that, we can just take our wire strippers, we can just cut the step pad off the wire. We can then take the wire that we've just cut off the step pad and strip it. You'll see that inside there are two wires just like we were using with our adapter. We can strip a little bit off of each of those. And then we can interface those with the relay on the peekaboo. So doing that, you can essentially control any prop with a try-me function or button with a peekaboo controller. That allows you to adapt a prop like that to use any of our triggers like a beam sensor, motion sensor, or high quality step mat. Alright, so that is a look at how you can upgrade your animatronic from a big box store to use one of our peekaboo controllers and any of our high quality triggers. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment on this video or send us an email at sales@frightprops.com. Thanks!